Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today we're going to take a look at a much anticipated product, and these showed up on Instagram a couple days ago, and I had looked at it and they were on Amazon for about $25, very affordable. Then I started to get emails from you guys asking, are you going to review these yet? Are you going to review these? And so here they are. I have a set to review, and these are the Qiaomei watercolors from Paul Rubens. It translates to Super Beauty, and the rep from Paul Rubens said it's pronounced Qiaomei. And let's take a look. It's a nice compact little size. It's about 3¼ inches by 7 inches, so it's a pretty small box. I just want to carefully open this so I don't disrupt the little wrapper here, because it looks like there's a lot of good information on this wrapper. We have, you know what? I'm going to grab my little magnifier. When you guys sent this to me, it's for, you can put it in your wallet. It's a little magnifying glass. It is the neatest thing, and it is so helpful. So look at this. We have got pigment information. We have got lightfast information. Let's see, these pigments look pretty, they look pretty good. So we got Chinese white, PW4. That's an actual true Chinese white. A lot of Chinese whites will say Chinese white but be PW6. That's not very typical. Chinese white should be more translucent and more for just muting or making a color more pastel without changing the viscosity of the paint, so you don't have to water it down so much that it gets so runny and out of control. That's really what a mixing white is for, a Chinese white is for. Make your paint a little bit more usable on unsized papers such as rice paper and things like that, where you don't want to have, you want to keep a little bit of that viscosity to it, so it's not really meant for highlights. So in case you're wondering why do they put a white in there, it's so useless. That's what it's used for. A lot of people don't quite realize that. P175, so first two colors are single pigments, and we get a cad yellow pale hue. That's a mix of PY65, PY175. We've got cadmium yellow hue, same, no, PY97, PY65. Well, looking at this, there's another single pigment there. Huh. They're calling that gamboge hue, PY153. They've got the wrong color there, I think. Cad red pale hue, cad red hue, those are mixes, but nothing here is, oh, permanent rose, PV19. Nothing here is PR88 for Purple Lake. That's a new one. I'll have to look up that pigment. I'm not familiar with that. That is cerulean blue, PV15, which is your what we would call phthalo blue. Cobalt blue hue, which is ultramarine plus white. Then we got ultramarine, which is just PV29. Intense blue, which is PV15. It'll be interesting to see the difference between what they're calling cerulean and what they're calling intense. Intense is the is what Winsor Newton calls their phthalo blue. We've got indigo, which is a mix of phthalo blue, ultramarine blue, and black. We've got a sap green, we've got a hooker's green light, emerald. I don't like it when I wish they just did, for emerald, PG7, because this is PG7 plus PY175. It's like, just keep that strong phthalo green, in my opinion. We got a PR101 burnt sienna, we've got a PBR7 and PY42 burnt umber. This is sounding familiar. Something's sounding familiar about this. We got a Van Dyke brown, which is a mix. We've got a burnt umber, which is a mix. And then we've got an ivory black, which is PBK9. All right. So I like the fact that there is pigment information. I like the fact that there is lightfast information. And yeah, let's open this up. But I'm going to let the water pump go, and we'll come back when it gets quiet here. All right, it's quiet. Let's slide off the sleeve here. This information is good, so I'll probably hang on to it. And hopefully our paints are in the same order. Ooh, it's got a little bit of a glittery surface to it. I don't know if you can see. It is a kind of sparkly surface, and let's see what we have inside. Oh, we've got a overlay here. It's I think it's like a sticker. Oh, look at this. This is new. This is interesting. So, I could put this You know what I might do? It looks like, oh, it's got one of these things here for popping out the palette. I had another Paul Rubens set that sadly they no longer sell anymore. It was a tube paint set that had something like this. So you could pop this out for extra mixing area, or I could stick that right in there. I'm just going to lightly stick, I don't know if I want to keep that there because it would be handy to have the extra mixing space, but that gives me all the names and everything right there. That's pretty cool. I'm wondering if I should put that on. I don't know what I should do with that. Should I leave it like that? I don't know. I'm not going to stick it down just in case, but here we have all of our colors. These are, oh, it looks like we could use this to rearrange our pans if we wanted to. These are, look like a traditional half pan. Let's get one of these out and see. I'm not flipping this whole thing over because I know if I do that, I will, I want to see what the pan looks like, but I don't want to flip the whole thing over because I'm afraid that if I do that, I will get them all out of order before I swatch them. No odor, no markings on the pan at all, but they do seem to be a standard half pan size. It doesn't seem like they're smaller. They seem about right. It looks like they're liquid poured. I think the presentation's really nice. That black around them, you got a little space between each pan. I like that for getting your brush in. There is, there's this area is black probably to keep it looking nice. And then we've got our little mixing area here, and then we've got the lid. I think I'm going to want the lid for a mixing area, so I'm going to have to think about what I want to do with this itself, because I do like having all the information there. Because it's got the pigment information and everything, so that's really great. So let me think for a second about what I want to do with that, and then we're going to come back and do some swatching. I cut down a piece of watercolor paper to fit the top of that, and I'm just going to carefully stick this on the back of the watercolor paper, because then I will have all my information right at my fingertips. Just like that, and then I can trim off the excess. Ah, that's perfect. That way I can use this. And look what else. This comes off like really easily, so you can actually move this around. So I'm really excited about this. I think this is really a cool palette design. I am always excited when I see something new, because you know, you see the same old thing all the time. So it's nice to have something really new and innovative. And this just fits. So it'll hold in there pretty well. And the other thing I like is that I could laminate, like after I swatched it, I could laminate it with packing tape, or I could just have this side facing the paint so it doesn't get my swatch dirty if I don't want to laminate it. I'm just going to trim off this extra there, and then I can swatch here, and I also have a larger piece of paper to swatch on as well. All right, I'm going to keep this right here so I can see. This is just larger printing than what's on the package, so I can kind of talk about it as we swatch, and then I will go ahead and swatch on the back side off camera just to have my own in the box swatch there. I think I could probably actually maybe tuck that underneath the mixing tray when not in use, and then I won't have to worry about it getting damaged. I might clip the corners a little bit, but I'm not going to do that right now. We'll do that. I'll do that later. So let's start swatching. I have got a flat brush here. I'm going to want to get 8 each row, and just trying to think how could we best see this. Maybe if I put it like this. Oh yeah, then everything can show. There we go. That looks good. All right, our first color is white, and this is PW4, and like I mentioned, it's not really an opaque white. They do have it listed as opaque. They have like the block filled in for opaque, but you could see it's very milky. I didn't pre-activate these because I want to see how they come right out of the gate. Next, we've got lemon yellow hue, PY175. A little more at the top. I should probably see how these flow. Next one is Cad Yellow Pale Hue, PY65 and PY175. Let's wet the area first, and then add some of the color into it. We'll take a look at the flow here. Not a ton of flow. I probably, you know what, I'm thinking maybe I should pre-spray these. So yeah, these do not have very much flow. Let me just give them a spray because it does seem like they're not, I mean, who knows how long they've been in that package, so. Colors seem fine. Actually, I did notice some of the same colors in the Pretty Excellent set of paints. Not all, maybe like 4 or 5 of the same colors. And this is Cad Yellow Hue, and this is PY97 and PY65. Next, we have Cadmium Yellow. Oh wait, we just did Cadmium Yellow. Next, we have Gamboge Hue, which looks quite dark to be a Gamboge. Oh, it looks kind of like more like an Indian yellow to me than a Gamboge. That looks more like a Gamboge. It's gorgeous, very transparent. And this color is PY153. The next color is Cad Red Pale Hue. Cad Red Pale, leaning a little bit more orange. And this is made from PY65 and PY255. The next color is Cad Red Hue. Almost looks like a deep. Oh, just says Cad Red Hue. PY149 and PR255. Ooh, that's pretty, isn't it? It's got a little bit more of a warm leaning tint, but it is a gorgeous color, almost like a Naphthol Crimson. The next color is Carmine Red Deep, and this is PR188 and PR254. That's a really pretty one, really vibrant. Just giving it a spray before we start does make the colors much richer. Probably won't need to every time, probably just because it's been the, you know, I just got it. The next color is Permanent Rose, PV19. It's a great color to have for mixing. It's great for botanicals. Nice and transparent. Next color, Alizarin Crimson Hue, and this is PR206, also known as maybe a permanent alizarin crimson. So it's not going to be as bloody looking. It's going to have, I think it's probably a quinacridone base. But that's pretty good. That's actually a pretty accurate alizarin crimson. Not as bright and saturated as other reds, but it's got that kind of like bluish undertone to it. That's nice, and better than the original alizarin crimson, which is fugitive. This next color is called Purple Lake, PR88. Sometimes this is referred to as mauve or mauve. This is really nice for mixing. I love this color. This color used to always make me nauseous though, because when I was a little kid, I was wearing a dress this color and coloring in the car when my parents were driving, and I got car sick. Or I didn't actually like throw up or anything, but I felt like so sick to my stomach, and I was using a crayon that was that color, and I had a dress that was that color. After that, I could not wear that dress anymore, and I hated that color for the longest time. This color is called Cerulean Blue Hue, and it says PB15, but boy, it's very weak for PB15, and I would bet there's probably some PW4 in it, because this obviously looks like it's got some white in it, but it doesn't have much opacity, and PW4 is that Chinese white that I was telling you before. It has, it dilutes a color while keeping its viscosity, but doesn't have a lot of pigment in it, and they can add that to student grade paints. They can add it to paints in general as a filler and not have to disclose it, so I have a feeling that's what's in there. It could be useful in sky, so that's why it's called sky blue, because it's not so strong, but I would prefer just to add water myself. This is Cobalt Blue Hue. This is another color that I'm not crazy about in a set, because it's just kind of flat and boring, and it's basically ultramarine blue plus white. I'd rather have 2 pans of ultramarine blue than this color in a palette. Then we have Ultramarine PV29, so this will be like that color, but just more intense. I'm a little bummed at the lack of flow with this, but it could be the paper, so, you know, it will, I'll do a painting with these and we'll see how they how they act. That's a pretty color though. I do like that. And this is really inexpensive. Well, actually, I don't know if it's really inexpensive, but it's just kind of a cellulose student grade paper. It's nothing to write home about. Then we have Intense Blue, which is a phthalo blue, PB15. That is nice. So that's like that color. But that must have some white in it. It's undisclosed. Gorgeous color. That looks good. Next, we have Indigo. And Indigo is a mix. And I believe this one has PB29, PB15, PB29, and PBK something. Let's see, we got PB15, which is a phthalo blue. We got PBK black, which is just like a lamp black, I think. We have and PB29, which is ultramarine blue. So it should have a little bit of granulation in there. Just a cool kind of grayish color, almost like a Payne's gray. It looks more of a Payne's gray than an indigo to me. Next we have Sap Green, which is the color I use. Do I have those mixed up? It says the next one is Sap Green, but I don't know. Let's swatch it out. That does not look like... Oh, maybe it is. In the pan, it looks like it's too bright. No, that does look like a Sap Green. Looks a lot like Winsor Newton Sap Green, actually. If you like Winsor Newton Sap Green, you probably like that. Next, we have Hooker's Green Light. Okay, this is a mix of PG36, which is a phthalo green yellow shade, and PO49, which is an orange. And actually, I do like a phthalo green and orange mix for Sap Green, but this is really quite yellow because they used the phthalo blue yellow shade. Next, we have the Hooker's Green Light. And this looks like a typical Hooker's Green, or a Bamboo Green. And it is PB15, which is the phthalo blue, PO49, which is the orangey color. And then we have PG7, which is your phthalo green blue shade. This would be good for mixing, I think. Of course, they could have just had PG7 and I would have been happier with that because then you're starting with a single pigment color. I do like that sap green though. Look at the sap green and the permanent rose. Don't they look nice together? All right, next we have Emerald. And that does look like a PG7. I mean, that looks pretty pure. This says PG7 PY175. So it's phthalo blue green shade plus a yellow, plus that yellow. I don't think it has much of it in there. I wouldn't say it has much yellow just for how blue it is. Next we have Burnt Sienna. This looks kind of opaque, but it doesn't say opaque on there. Boy, this looks like Winsor Newton's Burnt Sienna. It's actually quite transparent. I think I'll have to do I'll let this dry and I'll do a line over the paint too, because I am seeing a bit of a tint over the black line. It's not really that noticeable, but I can see it. So I feel like the particles in this are ground pretty fine because I'm not seeing a chalkiness or really just kind of a tint over it. I barely even call it a haze, but like a tint over it. The next color we have is Raw Umber. This is a color I rarely ever use. It's probably my least favorite earth tones. It looks like baby poop. And there is that. I like Raw Sienna. I like Burnt Sienna. I don't like Burnt Umber. Raw Umber just doesn't float my boat. This one here is called Van Dyke Brown. I do like Van Dyke Brown. I have that in several brands. I think it works as a good replacement for Burnt Umber. Good, very similar to a Burnt Umber. And this is PBR7 and PY42, which doesn't really have that much of a PY42 in it. I'm sorry, no. This one is PBR7, PY42. This one is PR101, which is that color, plus PBR7. So it's a little bit warmer and redder than that color, and just richer because of the PBR7. I'm sorry, the PR101, it makes it warmer. The PR101 and PBR7 gives it a warm reddish brown, but it's not that reddish. It's not as reddish as the burnt sienna. And now we have burnt umber, which is a weird, this is weird. Their burnt umber, it says the first pigment is PY42, which is yellow ochre, then PBR7. So I don't know why this, if it's listing PY42 as the first color, is richer and darker and more brown than that one listing brown as the first color. So I don't understand that, but there you have it. This looks more like a burnt sienna than a burnt umber. This looks more like a burnt umber, but it doesn't really matter. They're all using combinations of the same pigments. Just go for the color that you like the best. That's why I swatch instead of relying on the color chart. And this is PBK9 Ivory Black. And yeah, Ivory Black is made by burning bones, leftover bones from the meat industry. All right. And personally for me, I have paint that has oxgall in it. I have pigments that have some animal byproducts in it. I figure, you know, they're otherwise just throw those parts away. It's not saving a life by not using bone black paint. Is they wouldn't kill a cow just to make the paint. It's a byproduct anyway. But you can do whatever you do. There's actually a word for it in French. If you have a vegan diet but your whole lifestyle isn't vegan, it's végétalien. Isn't that cool? So it's like vegan and diet only. So vegan and diet only. Oh man. Okay, that's silly. So we're gonna let this dry, and then I'll come back after I've painted with these, and I'll let you know what I think. All right, let's finish up this review of the Qiaomei Super Beauty watercolors from Paul Rubens. So what I did here was I did an extra glaze of all the colors, just so you can kind of see how they layer up. Now there is some shiny spots. I'm not sure if the camera's picking that up or not, but I'm seeing a little bit of shininess around the edge of that white where it was a pretty juicy puddle. The reds have quite a bit of sheen when you go over with a glaze, with a fully loaded brush. And I got a little bit of shine in some of the other colors, but this is on cellulose paper. It's not the best paper. I also did a stripe of marker over the colors so you could see how different, like how transparent it is. Like this is the stripe that's under the colors, and this is the one that's over the colors. I think they're actually very transparent. I was wondering about that. I don't have any problems with that whatsoever. Even the colors that clearly have some sort of white added to it, and even the white, I mean, you can see a little bit of a haze, but there's no chalkiness, which is really nice. These remind me a lot of the Pretty Excellent watercolors. So I thought I would compare the colors from the Pretty Excellent to the colors here. And this is on cotton, and I think this, actually no, that's not cotton. So it might be better to compare some of these colors here. You know what? Let's flip this over so I can see the color names, and I can grab my swatch here. So that is lemon yellow 346, and we have 346 lemon yellow, so those two colors look identical to me. I'm just saying if there's what other similarities. I know there weren't too many. 109 cadmium yellow, 109 cad yellow hue. Yeah, they're both cad yellow hues, so which one is that? That would be this one, and that would be, yeah, it would be this third one, and it would be that one. Yep, those look just the same. So this is the old Pretty Excellent packaging. So I'm just kind of going through the number-wise and see how many similar colors there are. 103, we have Cad Red Medium Pale. I'm sorry, Cad Red Pale Hue. Goodness gracious. And that one is there. Cad Red Pale and Cad Red Pale. Oh, they call it Cad Red Light. All right, 103. That one would be there. Yep, seems to be the same. So it does seem to be like the same It's quite similar to the Pretty Excellent. The colors are matching really well, and they did just go to put pans. Like the new Pretty Excellent sets have pans, half pans in them, so it could be just a different way to package these, but you're getting a set of 24 instead of 36 for about the same price, so you get 12 more pans in the Pretty Excellent. This is $5.99 sap green. We got $5.99 sap green here, so that would be those two colors. They look pretty much the same. Let's see if we have 314. Is 314? Yes, 314. Hookers Green Light. It's probably that one. Those two look the same. That must be emerald. That looks the same. So I mean, there's definitely similar colors, and some have the exact same numbers. So my opinion would be, if you already have the Pretty Excellent watercolors and you love them and you want them in a different format, then you could get these. If you have the Pretty Excellent colors, or you don't have them and you're wondering if, you know, you're thinking about getting them, there's only 24 in this set, but it does have a neat palette. So I think you're paying a little bit more for this palette. So it's really just depends on what you like. I think that the quality is pretty much comparable. I have no problems with this. The thing I don't like about this set, though, and Pretty Excellent definitely has a leg up on, is that it's got a yellow ochre and a raw sienna, and this is a raw umber. And I'm not a big fan of raw umber. They both have a white in them. The Pretty Excellent white might actually be more opaque. I think the Pretty Excellent white's a titanium white. But these paints here, this Qiaomei paint, has more. It has pigment information and light fastness information. There's only light fastness information with a Pretty Excellent, unless I don't think there's information, because I actually asked the company about pigment information for Pretty Excellent. They didn't have any. So you can get pigment information if you get the 24 set here. So it's just another thing that you might want to consider if you're thinking about deciding between these sets. What palette do you like better? I like that it's got this sticker that I could put, you know, on the back of my swatch, so I can always see what the pigment information is and what the light fast information is, and I can keep that right in the box. But is that worth, you know, missing out on 12 colors? I mean, I still think the Pretty Excellent's a better deal, but it really just boils down to what is most important to you. Do you like the metal tin? Do you prefer the plastic box? Do you like the extra colors? I mean, now this is the old Pretty Excellent set, but the new set has half pans, which I will be comparing the old and new set very shortly, like probably in a few weeks on my channel. So if you want to wait for that, you certainly can. But this is the painting I did with them, and they mixed beautifully. The colors are really sheer. The ones that, you know, like the ultramarines and the things you would expect to granulate. The other ones are nice and clear and transparent. I went right over my ink lines here, and I could still see them. Even with this, I made a teal with this cerulean blue hue and emerald. So there's that color right there, and I added that up. I even made kind of like a fake yellow ochre with raw umber, gamboge, and white, and I added that in places, and I didn't have any issues with it obscuring my lines. So if you want something inexpensive for line and wash, like something small that you could, and lightweight, that you could take urban sketching, I think this would be a really good option. The paint is really nice. It is hard to find in stock right now. It's sold out at the time that I am recording this, but I will wait until it's back in stock before I post the review, so that nobody will be disappointed. I would definitely say that the white in this set is more translucent than the white in the Pretty Excellent set. So if you prefer a more opaque white, you might want to go for Pretty Excellent. If you prefer mixing white that's not going to obscure your ink and wash lines, but you still want to like tone down colors, or maybe make a little bit more earthy, pastel-y, muted tones, that would probably be good for you. Really, they're both great sets. It's just, what do you want to spend your money on it? This listed at $25, I think, when it came out, and the Pretty Excellent usually goes for around 20, but I've seen it. I got another set on Prime Day that I'm going to review. I'm going to compare for $17, and I've seen it as much as 25. So it just really boils down to what you prefer. They're both good, but I would say these are a student grade paint. Rather than the Paul Rubens and the pink tins. those are definitely more pigmented. You get a little more personality with the pink tin Paul Rubens paints. They're professional grade. You'll have much more variation in like, some colors will be granular and opaque, some colors will be really transparent, some colors will be in between. So you get those more personalities with their professional line. With this student line here, the Qiaomei or the Pretty Excellent, you're going to get a more uniform experience. You're going to get like all transparent sheer colors. You know, even at the like the ultramarine that granulates, it's still pretty sheer. They're all going to behave pretty much the same. They're all very finely milled. There's not a lot of movement in this paint, so that's something I noticed. I was still able to blend really well, but because there wasn't so much movement, I didn't get that whoosh of colors, and I had to kind of help color around a little bit. But I also didn't get blossoms and stuff like that. There's that little bit of shininess, but again, like I said, I didn't have any of that on my Arches cotton paper. That seemed to be just on the cellulose paper, and I don't, even where I've used it, like on the edge where it's a little bit thicker, I can see a little bit of shine on this cotton paper. This is more of a smoother cotton paper. So it really depends, I think, on the paper you're using. If you're going to go real thick and you're in like a smooth sketchbook, I think you will have that shining issue, so maybe not. If you're, say you're going to go urban sketching and you're using the like Stillman and Bird Beta sketchbook and you're going to use it thick, that might give you some shine, but you're probably, if you're doing ink and wash, you're probably using it pretty sheerly, so I don't think you're going to have that much of an issue, but I did see it, so I wanted to mention it because, I mean, you may have a juicy puddle, and that's going to be a bummer if you have a juicy puddle of paint and then you've got this shiny halo around it. You might not like that. So for the price, I think the quality is great. I like Paul Rubens products in general. I haven't been really disappointed. Every once in a while you get a product that's not the best, but for the most part, I find Paul Rubens stuff to be really good quality, and this is no exception. So if you have any questions, you can let me know in the comments below. I'd be happy to help you out. Otherwise, please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and until next time, happy crafting. Bye!